Hello again. I was talking yesterday to a woman who expressed her bewilderment at the way in which masculinity has come to be seen as a dangerous thing, something which needs to be suppressed and eliminated wherever possible. This prevention of masculinity begins, of course, at school in Britain, where little boys are routinely taught that all their natural instincts are perverted and wrong. They are instead expected to behave more like girls, settling disputes peacefully and abandoning all ideas of competition or striving for victory, whether at football, chess, or anything else. The key words now are cooperation, kindness, and being everybody's friend. Some primary schools have banned footballs in the playground, partly because they might cause injury, but more importantly because they promote a competitive spirit in boys and somehow exclude girls. They make boys too rough, you see. As the woman to whom I was speaking remarked quite accurately, boys are increasingly treated as being no more than some strange species of defective girls who must be encouraged to behave in more feminine ways and reject utterly their dangerous masculine natures. I don't think that any of this is simply chance, but nor do I think that it is a sinister conspiracy. I believe that those implementing such policies honestly think that they are undertaking a worthy and praiseworthy work in altering boys and making them more like girls. This, of course, ties in neatly with the current trend for allowing boys at school to decide that they really are girls and go to school wearing skirts rather than trousers. Talking to teachers, one gains the impression that they would regard this as a most desirable development if all their pupils became neat and tidy and quiet instead of being boisterous, messy and rough. The intention is to raise a generation of males who will reject war and be horrified at the idea of sexually assaulting or harassing women. It is hoped that the boys raised in this way will be less aggressive and violent generally, by having these impulses bred out of them by constant correction by teachers and the state in general. The problem I have with all this is that it is based upon a distorted and thoroughly false version of masculinity, one which I hardly recognise. Take the question of rape and sexual assault, for instance. After the murder of Sarah Everard last year, it was widely claimed by many women that they were always afraid of predatory men and that many dared not walk the streets after dark. This was due to the supposed fact that so many dangerous men were around who would attack women at any opportunity. I was raised in the days when masculinity was regarded in quite a different light. It was inextricably linked with the idea of chivalry, and this entailed protecting women and keeping an eye out for chances to help them and save them from danger. A masculine man, seeing a woman being molested or made fearful, would at once go to her aid. I have to say that when I was a young man, rapists were regarded as the lowest type of creature on earth, and wife beaters were not much better. One of the first things one learned as a boy or man that no self-respecting boy would ever hit a girl. It was ingrained within us, and the boy or man who struck a girl was regarded with contempt. These were the days when doors were open for women, and if a woman was seen carrying a heavy suitcase, it was expected that a real man would offer to help. Although it was tolerated with resignation that boys would fight each other, this kind of thing faded away in adulthood, and the real man knew that being too quick off the mark with one's fists was a mark of weakness rather than strength. Nobody liked a ruffian. What seems to have happened is that masculinity in itself has been identified as the cause of rape and violence, and the remedy devised entails rooting out masculinity in boys and turning them into eunuchs. This is such a mad scheme that I find it difficult to talk about without anger. Not only that, it is hideously counterproductive. You can certainly cause boys and men to hide their natures and pretend to be more like girls, but the difficulty is that unless they are taught to be real men, then these natural male impulses will break out in dangerous and unpleasant ways. I wonder if viewers think that there are fewer rapes now on the streets than there were in the 1950s and 1960s when boys were taught to be little gentlemen. Is there less violence generally in society than there used to be? All this is, of course, compounded by the lack of fathers in modern families. Boys need to be taught how to be a man and what being manly means. They must be instructed in chivalry and understand that the real man looks after women and watches for opportunities to help them, looks after them and protects them from danger. As it stands, their ideas about being men are being taught only by women, mothers and school teachers, and only a man can really explain to a boy what men are and what they really should be. I sometimes fear for the boys now growing up. They're all treated as being potential rapists and killers, and this cannot do much for their sense of worth. I have an idea that some will become more sexually aggressive and violent as a reaction to being treated in this way.